Morning, guys. I'm outside cooling off. I had some boiling water going to get some humidity in that air because it gets to my sinuses a little bit. Still have the cast on. but I thought it would be fun to talk about baby boomers today. I believe baby boomers are like 1947 to 1964. I am a baby boomer. All of my six siblings are all baby boomers, and I thought you might enjoy hearing about my experience as a baby boomer. And you can write below about you being a baby boomer. Now, for me, I was born in 62. So I'm 57 right now. And some of the things with the baby boomers kind of came down, some of the generation, so to speak, came down from my older brothers and sisters, like the stuff in the 60s, which a lot of times I think of baby boomers, I think of 60s. But they, like my older brothers and sisters, I remember um, headbands, maxi skirts. We were um, big church people. And so in the church, they had like Lovin', like the Bible study youth group was called Lovin'. So the kids would all want to go to the Lovin'. I was too young for that, but I remember my older sisters going to the Lovin'. Um, I remember the buns. The women would wear their hair up high in a bun, and just the general things that people would say. Like we would go with our friends to an event or something. And I was young, so I was probably about 12 or 11, but I had my older sisters, which, and my brother. There were three older siblings, or I should put it this way. My parents had like two sets of kids. So I had three brothers and sisters that were two boys and a girl. And then my parents had four more, and I was number six of seven. So I just remember like going with a bunch of friends, and I'd be with my older sister. That one was like a teenager more, and I was probably about 12. And we would go someplace, and the guys would yell out the window, Jesus loves you, and so do I, to a girl or something. It was just that generation. I remember hitchhiking. I remember we were driving, we went somewhere, we walked or did something with a bunch of kids, and the car broke down or something, so we all hitchhiked home, and a truck picked us up, like an old farm truck, and we all rode in the back of it was like a hay baler. We all rode in the back of it to, our destination. But those were some of the things that happened as a baby boomer. Of course, we have the late 40s there, um, and the 50s, which would be my older sisters. And I just remember, like I said, their hairstyles were the buns, and they used to blow dry their hair, and they would put like it'd be like a bag, and I used it too as a kid with like a big hose that blew the air into your hair. Curlers. The girls would go to bed at night and wear curlers, and I mean, it was interesting. I know that our following, we have a big chunk of our following is like, I believe, 25 to 35. Actually, that's like the majority of our followers are in that age group because I look at the demographics sometimes. And so some of you guys may have never seen or heard of any of this stuff, but it sounds so funny. I lived before the internet. I lived before um, VHS, and there was 8-track radio. I remember we didn't have seatbelt laws back then, so everyone would pile in a car. You could, in the 70s, or when I was in my teenage years and I'd be dating, I could sit right next to my boyfriend in the car. And I remember sitting in the car at times with my family or friends, probably friends, because my parents would have had a bet, putting my feet out the window. I was driving, just, you're a teenager, and it was anything nasty or bad. You're just holding your feet out the window to keep them cool as you're driving, and just crazy stuff. I remember people piling in their cars. It used to get so many people in the car, and they'd sit on each other's lap and everything else just to get everybody in. This is all before seatbelt laws. And then, of course, Chinese fire drills. You'd stop at a stoplight, and then everybody'd run around the car, and just a lot of craziness. Growing up as a Christian, like I said, it was a little different. The drug culture, of course, affected everybody. I think everybody at my generation has tried drugs and everything before that. I mean, never. I mean, but it was like maybe high school, right. I don't even think, I think I tried, well, I know I tried pot when I was like 13, and then I stopped when I was like 13 because it wasn't for me, but it was because of older siblings. But the drug culture was huge back then. But it wasn't so much the hardcore drugs where people we knew was mainly like kids would go out in the woods and smoke pot and stuff like that, which was bad. It was really bad. Um, so that stuff was bad, and most people grew out of it and became adults, and it was like that stuff is stupid. But like I said, I did something like that when I was like 13, and probably did it a few times, and then I stopped, and it wasn't for me. I know it wasn't what I wanted it to be, but I was pretty young because I had older siblings. And oh my goodness, the boyfriends. Because we didn't have the internet. So the boyfriends would all be at the house because we had all these girls, and they would, be looking and sitting on the front porch. I had the older sisters, so I was the one that, they always wanted the older sisters because they were, pretty, and I was like the 12-year-old little pesty sister. But the boyfriends would all sit on the front porch, um, knocking on the doors, looking for girlfriends. And I know my parents were really strict. I had my daddy, like, they always had to come to our house. We were not allowed to go to boyfriends' houses. We had to call when we were on a date. My parents were really, really strict. They weren't unbearable, but I think that they had a lot of daughters, so they were smart. Like my mom used to joke and say, "If you can't be good, be careful." You laugh about it now, but most of my sisters, all of my sisters, got married like 17, 18. I was Johnny come lately. I got married at 20, but that marriage didn't last. But I was only married for a year. But all of them got married, like I said, when they were like really young, because back then you got out of high school, you got married, and that was what you were expected to do. You didn't go to college. People didn't live together, although they did start to live together right around the time that I was graduating high school in 1981. People started to live together, but when I was in high school and things like that, people just, they didn't do that. It was just something that wasn't part of the culture. And there was a lot of things like that. Women, like I said, would usually get married young. They'd start to have their babies. I remember my sister was 23 and had like 4 to 5 children. I mean, she was young. And my parents had 7 kids. My older sister had 12. Now, I'm sure everybody wasn't like that, but that's what was in my family. Um, I only have one child, myself, and Clay has two, but it was just different, you know what I mean? And the guys would have brush cuts, but then they turned into long hair. And like I said, I'm talking somebody that was born in 62, because I mean, some of you might have been born at 47, some of you might have been closer to 74, so your teenage years and things would have hit different. I remember the 70s were like the best time in my life. I remember the music, and we all liked the BJs, and then I grew up and we all liked Michael Jackson, and the music was great. The movies, the comedies were great. And on Friday night, your boyfriend took you out on a date. Almost every Friday night, they would, work all week, and then whoever you were dating, take you out. Usually, you had a regular boyfriend. I know I dated one guy in school for 3 years, and then I dated another guy for 1 year, and it's like it was like your boyfriends were like you were dating for a long, long time. But I mean, that's at least I did. I was more of a, you know, we're in love type of thing. But mom and daddy were very strict. and we were good girls. All of us were good girls. We didn't do, I don't remember doing anything like really, really bad, like sneaking out at night and doing really terrible things. I'm not saying that I didn't do a little of that, but not like I wasn't out of control. Um, and like I said, things were just different. We didn't have any security in school. I mean, our schools were pretty easy. We could make cupcakes. Our mama could make cupcakes when we were kids, and we could bring those homemade cupcakes to school and feed them to the class, and just a lot different world. A more simple time. I'm old enough to remember on Easter having like a headband with flowers and wearing white gloves and having black patent shoes on my feet, and wearing all the little girly stuff. My parents they'd match all the three youngest ones. We all had like the exact same outfit on for church every Sunday. My mother, we would have our hair done, our white gloves on, our black shoes on, our little tights on. I mean, we were dressed to go. So it was pretty interesting. Christmas time, we had like the blue lights on our Christmas tree or a silver tree. I mean, it was the 60s. It was definitely the 60s. It was a great time. I mean, I remember Barbie dolls. I mean, Barbie dolls. I love Barbie dolls. I had an army of Barbie dolls because I inherited all my Barbie dolls from my sisters plus the Barbie dolls that I wanted. And I don't even know if kids play with Barbie dolls anymore, but I mean, I remember playing with Barbie dolls till I was probably 12, and then I stopped playing Barbie dolls because I had older sisters, and we were going to be teenagers then. We were going to be teenagers. But it was a cool time. I mean, those are just a few of the memories. If you were a baby boomer, share below some of your memories. I hope you do a video like this. I'd love to see your video. Well, like Clay sign under quarantine, he figured that would keep people away. We have a lot of people that just like pop pop over like solicitors and stuff, but he doesn't want people stopping by because he's a type 2 diabetic, and we want to make sure he's well taken care of, just in case you wondered what that sign was for. But he laughed. He goes, "This to keep people away." But in a sense, it's true because he is a type 2 diabetic. We don't want anyone around him, and we do have virus in our county. So, but anyway, do a video if you're a baby boomer, or even if you just want to talk about boomers. I would love to see your video. Go ahead and shoot up a video, and I'd like to hear your experience as a baby boomer. Okay, guys. God bless. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.